The PAP has been making movements into policies on entrepreneurship, productivity drive, foreign talent, and raising retirement age. What do you think that all these policies are actually, what direction is the PAP policy actually pointing towards to, and are these policies trying to address a bigger problem, and what is the Reform Party answer to that?
Well, I think the first thing is that the Reform Party, we were first to focus on the productivity problem, which is that Singapore's productivity record has been one of the poorest among developed countries. I think over the period 2000 to 2009, our GDP per hour worked rose by only about 1%, whereas in the US it rose by 2.1%. And in fact, the disparity in performance goes back to 1995. So basically all our GDP growth has been fueled by growing the workforce. So I see the PAP as only paying lip service to the concept of increased productivity of growth, which is the source of higher incomes and the source of us moving up market into higher value-added industries. I mean, the question is, what kind of country do we want? Do we want to be more like Switzerland, concentrating on higher value-added, high-paying jobs, or on low-wage, low-skilled areas?
The problem with the Singapore economic policies, all that you've mentioned, is not the system. The problem is the people in the system. We have people in the ministries and the stat boards and all the people who are sheltered for most of their life. Scholars, they've come through a very sheltered life. They don't know the problems of the people in the ground. So what is the opposition's solution to these problems? Because the systems are fine, the policies that they come up with fine. The problem with the policies is there's no tune. They are not in tune with the people on the ground, with the lower income workers. So what are your solutions for this problem when the majority of the policymakers do not know what the people are thinking, yet they are there making the policies anyway?
Okay, thank you, sir. We will have the question from the lady. Ma'am?
My name is Evelyn. This is a question on HDB again. It should be directed to Kenneth Jeyaretnam, but I think I welcome comments from everyone. Everybody says that HDB prices are too high. And I think the message that we get from opposition party is that, yeah, it should be lowered, it should be lowered. But the question I have is that you're basically stuck. If you become HDB for a day, just hypothetically, what are you going to do about HDB prices? Why I say you are in a conundrum is because if you lower HDB prices, the current homeowners are going to scream. If you don't, if you keep them at the current level, then the home seekers are going to scream. So what is your solution to the problem of high HDB prices right now? Thanks.
Okay, thanks. So that gentleman's question first was, how do we solve the problem of a government formulating policies that are divorced from reality on the ground? That lady's question was on the opposition's position on lowering HDB prices. Won't that make homeowners who have HDB flats unhappy? We will take the question in order from my right. Mr. Chair?
I'll first answer the question given by the gentleman, which is how do you change an administration that is already divorced from the reality on the ground? The answer is to give the ruling party a black eye in this coming general elections. The reason is because the ruling party has stayed in power for too long. And in staying in power for too long, they have already blurred the lines between government and ruling party. They have also created an elite administrative service which goes on super scale salaries, and whom they do no longer, these civil servants no longer see themselves as having to push for something that should be different, that should be for the benefit of the people. Now the ruling party has stayed in power for too long. That has resulted in the civil service as well as the policy formulators, becoming influenced by the PAP think, PAP group think. And I think what we see today in our society, in our country, is actually a reflection of all that happening and accumulation of 40 years, 50 years of uninterrupted rule. In relation to the question given by the lady, the problem with housing in Singapore is that land is almost totally 100% controlled by the government and influenced indirectly by the ruling party's policies. Now, they have created the asset appreciation policy, which basically took out the CPF monies of the people towards paying for public housing, which is supposed to be subsidized. And thereafter, this money went into the government coffers and is used to spearhead their agenda overseas through the investment arms of GIC and Temasek. Now, I'm not going to say about whether they are well run or not, but the money that went out to make profits, and sometimes, more often than not, their losses. We do not have an accountable system where there's transparency, where there is fruits shared from those investments with the people. The high prices of HDB sadly may have to remain because Singaporeans have already committed to those properties, and it will be irresponsible for anyone new to try to change that. But we firmly believe in socialism, and socialism means control of essential means of production to be used for the benefit of the people. Now, the old HDB can remain as they are, but there could be a new category of HDB flats created for citizens, for people who are willing to commit to Singapore, for the young couples that go on a lower price scale and on totally different means of ownership. What I mean is that there could be tweaks done to shorten the lease so that the price can be reduced. Now, we are in a fix where the people have allowed 50 years of uninterrupted rule that brought us to where we are today. The changes have to be made. The changes can only be made if we give this government a black eye in the coming general elections, and the changes will be made later on by way of fixing the problem as we can better understand it if we ever come to power. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, can I just ask the photographers not moved on getting notes in Mr. Goh?
Well, PD is a Taekwondo black belt. You can give people black eye. To me, in the same manner, I think we should vote more opposition into the parliament. Not only because we need them, right? You have to send a clear signal to the PAP. If these ministers actually screwed up, then he has to go. So, actually, your question to us is actually the voters' problem. My party's slogan is always "My voice, my choice," right? Because we understand that we are not going to form the government any sooner, right? Maybe in 10 years' time, maybe, but not sooner. So, most important is to bring your voice into the parliament, and we need you to vote for us. That's all, right? With regards to the HDB, I think she got a point, right? We have paid 400,000, 300,000 for a 4-room flat. So, if prices went down, you are caught. But this is not a problem that is created by us. It's by PAP. But having said that, we must understand what the PAP can do and what the PAP cannot do. There are actually two segments of market in the HDB. One is a new flat, the other one is a resale flat segment. For the new flat, the PAP government have a full control because it is a sole provider, supplier of a new flat. So the prices, they can control. So as Dr. Sri has said, we just need them to sell at cost price. Right? Now, if I have to advance further, from the economic point of view, they are giving young couples or people, Singaporeans, a certain grant to buy in the resale market. You may think that is a good idea. Actually, it's not a good idea. Because when you pump in money to that, the demand is actually goes up and it goes higher. So if I have my way, if I become the Minister of Development, I would say we'll stop that, right? Because basically that is irrational. You are actually distorting the market, which is supposedly to be a free market, right? As for those who are being caught, I think, put it that way, you have only one HDB flat. Whether you win money or you lose money, it doesn't matter. You are going to leave it as a home, not an investment. We have to discard the idea that HDB is your investment. It is not. It is your home. You do not use your home as an investment. You use a property as an investment. That's my answers to you.
Again, I always believe in first things first. Without the information, without the data, you're just going to be groping in the dark. Just to answer our friend's question, do you move forward? Do you move backward? How much do you peg your HDB flat prices? You don't know because you don't have the information. The first thing, the biggest thing that an elected opposition MP can do in Parliament is to make sure you get the Minister of National Development and you make him open the books and reveal all that goes into an HDB flat. And for that matter, you also need to take them into account. All the reserves that have built up through the years, how much has come from HDB flats? And if need be, let's do a Lehman Brothers. Correct? You have all this wealth that's been accumulated, and we're not talking peanuts. We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that's choked up, and we don't know how much it is, what's being used for. So first things first, get into Parliament, get them to reveal the books, open up the books, and then let's talk. And I'm sure as we sit down, there'll be enough intelligent people around to be able to find a solution on how we can make sure that HDB flats don't become out of reach for the younger generation. At the same time, we don't penalize those already who own the flat. There are solutions that we can find, but we just got to make sure that they don't play with our mind. Because when we do that, then we keep telling ourselves there's no solution for the things that have been done. And the only solution is to continue to support the PAP. We've got to make sure that our biggest battle is not with the PAP, it is what the PAP has done to our minds.
And the question from the gentleman on policy making?
Well, in terms of having people out of touch, I think that's given. You have people who are, I've seen some of these cocktail functions, where they go from one function to another, and then they get ferried to by the Lamborghinis, the Maseratis, if not the Rolls Royces. And you do that for 1, 2, 3 days. That's okay. You come back to reality. You do that for 2, 3 decades. You are going to damn problems. Because those people generally live in a world of their own. They don't really step onto an MRT station. They don't go into a flat. That's where I think the opposition comes in. Right? That's why I think it's important that this coming elections is going to be this very important decision that the people are going to make. Either we move in this direction, or we're going to see an accumulation of power within the PAP, and at the same time this disparity of income, or are we going to move towards a more sustainable economic situation whereby the opposition, meaning the people, have a voice in the system.